I mean, yesterday we were sitting here and we were hearing them say, well, we want 10,000 votes. They got 10 times that.
They are telling you this issue matters. Hear us.
Well, I mean, they need to be worried about it. They obviously need to be concerned about it.
Well, one thing is clear after the results in the Michigan primary last night. Any Democratic politicians that are still backing weapons and money to Israel's right-wing government as they commit mass atrocities in Gaza may as well put on their MAGA hat because they're helping Donald Trump win in November. I'm going to get to the results in Michigan. What this means, the reaction, the fact that the media is even now recognizing that Michigan is a real worry for Joe Biden, and losing Michigan would likely mean you're going to lose the election. So this is the initiative that I believe covered last week, may have been 2 weeks ago, but in a video, one of the two groups pushing to vote uncommitted in Michigan. This is Listen to Michigan, and their reasoning here saying Michigan voters are sending Biden a clear message in the February 27th Democratic primary that he can count us out. We are filling out the uncommitted bubble because we strongly reject Biden's funding war and genocide in Gaza. Trump only won Michigan in 2016 by about 10,000 votes. Uncommitted Michigan Democrats opposed to Biden's policy in Gaza can demonstrate that we hold his margin of victory for re-election. So there was a concerted effort here to vote uncommitted against Joe Biden in this primary, and I'm going to show you the results. First, this tweet went out. I'm not sure who this person is, but they appear to be defending Joe Biden regardless of what he does. But they tweeted this out early into the night, before the final results are in. The lesson here is don't tweet your snark before the final results. So discussing here previous Michigan Democratic primaries in 2012, 20,000 voted uncommitted, 2016, 21,000, 2020, 19,000, saying they literally have 20,000 uncommitted every presidential election year. This is after they just got 21,000 votes, as you can see down here. They set the bar at 10,000 this year, so 20,000 would look like overperforming. If you go and read through this, they eventually have to continue like backtracking and say, yes, yeah, whatever. I know it's a big deal, but because they tweeted this too early. The final result is not anywhere near 20,000. It is in fact 101,000 people came out to vote uncommitted. This was clearly a successful effort here. And which is why you even have places like CNN, MSNBC, Morning Joe, recognizing that this is a problem for the Democratic or for Joe Biden's campaign. So the reason why, and just to, if you want to get granular, Biden actually lost the city of Dearborn. So the uncommitted vote in Dearborn won 57% support, while Biden received 40%. So Dearborn has a heavy Arab American population, people that live there. Many of them have family members in Gaza, lost family in Gaza. So this issue, of course, is very, very close to them. And, zooming out a bit. So back in 2020, Biden beat Trump in Michigan by about 150,000 votes. This is just a primary. People that come out to a primary usually amount to, a fraction of the people that come out to vote in a general election. The fact that 100,000 people in a primary came out to vote uncommitted showcases to you that there are many more people who feel the same who just didn't vote. Many people who have completely checked out of politics and, are not in this number. But the point being here, this 100,000, the fact that the gap here in 2020 was only 150, this is going to be a very close race in Michigan. Regardless of where you sit politically, everybody agrees that Michigan's going to be a fight. It's going to be a lot closer than it was in 2020. Looking at polling here, Biden has not won a single poll in Michigan since October 30th, when he was up by 2. Since then, it's all been Trump, +5, +10, +4, +8, +5, +2, +4, +2, +4.2, +8, +5, +2, +4, +2, +2, +4.2. It's just been a disaster for Biden in Michigan since his full support of the far right-wing Israeli government following Israel's ongoing attacks in their response to Hamas. Now, this is what experts are saying the 2024 election will be a lot closer to. This is 2016 when Hillary Clinton lost Michigan by 10,000 votes. So that 100,000, looking through the lens of, the context that I'm giving you here, Michigan's going to be incredibly close. Meaning, this is an issue that Biden has to be concerned about. He has to, if he wants to win Michigan, if he wants any hope at all, and again, there may be many people here who he's completely lost at this point, but if he wants any hope at all of winning the state of Michigan, he has to reverse course on Israel. He cannot continue supporting this far right-wing government as they commit these mass atrocities. Now, I want to get to some reactions here. This is CNN, and this is a point that I think is worth noting.
I think I feel a little different in my analysis here, in that these people actually turned out. They're still interested in what's going on. And in fact, they want to send a message to their eventual nominee to pay attention to something they care about. I feel like that's very different from like what Nikki Haley's doing, what's happening on the Republican side, where there are people who are just fundamentally dissatisfied and don't know where to go.
All right, so I'm going to get to the Republican side of this in a second here, but this is a great point. These uncommitted voters are not checked out of politics. I would say many of them, I would guess the majority of them, are winnable if Biden's policy changes on Israel. So these are people sending a message to Joe Biden: I am voting uncommitted because I am trying to help you. I want you to change your policy and ensure that both you are on the right side of this issue, you are on the human rights side of this issue, and also that Trump doesn't win. Because we're all very aware that Trump would be worse in many ways, I would say all ways. But that does not guarantee you a victory unless you showcase to people that you understand their pain, that you understand that currently you, as Biden, are on the wrong side of this issue. Wrong side politically, if you look at polling, wrong side just in terms of human rights and the mass destruction that the Israeli government is causing with the help of U.S. weapons and funding. Now, when it comes to the Republican primary, so I just want to touch on this briefly before I get back to Democrats here and two more clips. I saw some arguments out there that, Nikki Haley got, almost 300,000 votes. So that must mean Trump is going to lose those people in November. That trying to compare the Nikki Haley vote in Michigan to the uncommitted vote is ridiculous. There is no comparison. The uncommitted vote was a very specific message sent to Joe Biden about policy. When it comes to a presidential primary where there is no incumbent, Donald Trump is not currently the president, it's a much different thing. There's going to be, of course, a bit of a battle here among whoever is still in the race. The vast majority of these Nikki Haley voters, as we've seen with Republican voters for 10, 20, 50 years, forever, Republican voters consolidate. They eventually decide, hey, even if I don't like the candidate, I'd rather vote for the Republican candidate in the general election over a Democrat. If you go back to 2016, the argument that Democratic politicians, or at least the Hillary campaign was trying to make, is that, sure, we may lose some progressive voters, we may lose some working class voters, some people on the left, but we're going to pick up some moderate Republicans. That didn't happen. Moderate Republicans, by and large, tend to vote for Republicans. Why would they choose a Republican light option when they can choose the real thing? So the vast majority of these Nikki Haley voters are going to end up voting for Donald Trump. You cannot compare this to the uncommitted vote. Now, here's another reaction. This is The View. There was a bit of I wouldn't say it's a debate, but a bit of a discussion here around these results.
They're not sitting on the couch. These are protest votes. These are votes.
That's true.
They're uncommitted votes, and they're votes, and they're saying, hear us, listen to us. Hundreds of members of my family have been killed. Yes, that is my issue. That is my one issue. 30 people in my immediate family were killed, yet the United States is providing weapons and money to the people that killed my family, and I am an American citizen. That is, I think, what the message was. And this is something that I have been saying on this show. I know that I've been a singular voice here, but what the Biden administration has to understand is that young voters which first-time voters are very concerned about this issue. And when it comes to Michigan, if you look at the breakdown, 19% of those votes came from the University of Michigan. Young voters.
Yeah.
In Ann Arbor, in East Lansing, home to Michigan State, Uncommitted got 15% of the vote. There are 300,000 of the Arab population in Michigan. And Trump carried Michigan in 2016 by about 11,000 votes. They are telling you this issue matters. Hear us.
Understood.
Well, so
Understood. I'm sorry. I understand all of that.
Yeah.
I get it. That's how I feel when they put up the, the nooses. That's how I feel when I hear young women get it. Yeah. If I then say, you're not doing it fast enough for me, so I'm going to sit, that doesn't help me.
But they didn't sit.
No,
They didn't sit, though.
This is actually
they
what
did.
voted.
They voted. That's the
Uncommitted.
same for me as sitting.
All right, I'm not really even sure what Whoopi Goldberg is trying to argue here, because it sounds like she's arguing, well, these people that voted uncommitted, it's the same as sitting. Okay, let's say they did sit out the results. It is now on Joe Biden and his campaign and his presidency to do something about that, to ensure that they don't sit in the general. So, Whoopi Goldberg is coming off as if she's arguing the other side. She's bolstering the point that Sonny Hostin's making, that this is a very important issue to address. But Sonny, they're making great points, and in terms of bringing up the youth vote and people engaged in human rights, like this, again, Democrats win when turnout is high. Joe Biden won in 2020 not by appealing to Republicans. He won in 2020 by getting out young people to vote, by getting out marginalized groups to vote. That's how he was able to win in 2020 over Trump. Yes, a lot of that vote as well was simply the anti-Trump vote, but it's going to be a lot tougher to rely on that now when Trump isn't the current president. I want to get to one last clip here and then some final thoughts in terms of what the Democratic Party, how they've reacted to this result. But this is Morning Joe.
And you look how younger Americans, in a shocking way, have turned away from Israel and are very aggressively supporting the Palestinian cause and supporting some pretty extreme positions.
I mean, and I've watched in real time. My younger sister is out in Seattle. She's 27 and, has got a bunch of liberal friends out there. And literally, I watched over time from the beginning of the war on their Instagram stories and other social media. It was in the beginning sort of just more informative. What's going on? Very quickly changed to being pro-Palestinian. Look at what's happening. This is a genocide. Can you believe that we're supporting this? You cannot vote for anyone who uses our taxpayer dollars to support something like this. And it's continuing through this day. And that is what is so shocking to me, is how many young people are posting about these causes and about genocide and foreign policy day in and day out.
So the reason why Morning Joe is so important, why this conversation is so important on Morning Joe, is that Joe Biden watches Morning Joe. This has been discussed before. I'm not sure if he's talked about it publicly. He may have, but there was a big news story or a big, expose, if you could call it that, in one of the big political papers about how Joe Biden loves watching Morning Joe. So to have this discussion on Morning Joe is important for Joe Biden to hear it. I know I'm getting flashbacks to, Donald Trump when he was president, how much he watched Fox News. But unfortunately, this is the reality. You have these people watching television, these presidents watching television, and it impacts them in some way. So it's good to have this discussion on there. Now, quickly on the Democratic reaction, if there is much of one. So Pramila Jayapal, Democratic representative, has been taking this issue seriously. She tweeted out after the results saying, the results in Michigan are clear. Voters are not happy with the U.S.'s handling of the war in Gaza. This is a profound moral issue, and it's time to listen. So good to see that. I'm sure there have been others that have, raised this issue, but I'd be surprised if it flipped anybody. I'm sure the ones that have been talking about this are continuing to talk about it. But this is what Biden is saying, or the campaign is saying. This is from Politico. The presidential aides continue to believe that today's uncommitted voters will be November's Biden voters once they have a stark choice in front of them. I'm getting more flashbacks. Flashbacks to 2016. Oh, don't worry. Hillary Clinton will get those voters. Even if she loses some progressive voters, she's going to get enough of those moderate Republicans out to vote for her, and she'll win. They should not be passing this aside. Now, You could argue that this is what they're going to say publicly. They're not going to publicly say that they're, scrambling behind the scenes and they're freaking out. They want to put forward a message that they're not worried, that they're going to, as they say here, they're going to earn those voters. So they want a president who listens and delivers. That's Joe Biden. We will earn their votes between now and November. Everything relies on how they expect to earn those votes. If they think simply sending people there, as they've been doing, sending random aides to Michigan to talk to voters, if that's going to solve the problem, even if Joe Biden going there and talking to voters, if they think that's, and eating ice cream with them or something, like if they think that and, TikTok, Biden on TikTok or on Seth Meyers is going to solve the problem, then they are wrong. The only way to solve this issue is to change your policy on Israel, is to stop funding the far right-wing Israeli government as they commit mass atrocity. That is the only way you're going to earn their votes. Not through TikTok, not through celebrities, not through visits from your aides, but from actual change in policy.